All right. Back again. Solving absolute equations. This time we just have multi-step equations. Really isn't that much more difficult. Although it does add a brand new situation, which is a little bit interesting. So let's get to it. So actually this first one doesn't add anything new. This is just like yesterday's. So we want to get the absolute value by itself. So we want to get rid of this minus 5, so we give plus 5 to both sides. That's going to leave us with an absolute value of negative 2x plus 8. This cancels out. Negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. Okay. And this is actually different from any problem we've seen this year. And I don't know if you notice what's wrong here, but there's something very wrong with our problem now. And if you don't see it, that's okay. Let's look at a simpler version of that. What if we strip down some of the problem here and we just said, what if we had the square root of x is equal to negative 2? What would work here? What could I say x is that if I take the absolute value of it would leave me with negative 2? And hopefully you're like, wait a minute. Whatever I put in the absolute value is always going to come out positive. So there's no way that I could ever end up making this equal negative 2. And that's correct. This is impossible. Okay? So if we come back over here, there we go. It's the same situation here. No matter how complicated this is, we know the result of this is always going to end up being positive because of the absolute value signs. So there's no way, no value of x will make this true. It'll never come out to negative 2. It has to come out to something positive. So the answer for this one here is no solution. Okay, that's the whole thing. Can't do anything else with this. Doesn't make any sense to split it up into two separate equations. If you're left with just the absolute value part on one side and a negative number on the other side, your answer is no solution. You can't solve. Okay? And move on. All right, so our second example. Let's see. So we have 2 plus 3 times 5x plus 10, the absolute value of all that, equals 77. So we want to get this absolute value of 5x plus 10 by itself. So we need to do minus 2 first. So that's going to give us, this will cancel. So we have 3 times, I'm going to start writing small. It's going to be a lot of steps here. Plus 10. 77 minus 2 is 75. And then just like yesterday, we have 3 times this whole absolute value. So we want to get rid of that by just dividing both sides by 3. So we have the absolute value of 5x plus 10. 75 divided by 3 is 25. Okay? So we look at it because now we're suddenly aware that some of these don't exist. So absolute value of 5x plus 10 equals 25. Since this is positive, this is doable. We can answer this one. So at that point, that's when we split it into 2 separate equations. And then we drop the absolute value sign. So 5x plus 10 either needs to equal 25 or 5x plus 10 needs to equal negative 25. Okay? Don't get confused. I know you see a negative here now, but that's after we've dropped the absolute value signs. We've split it into the 2 separate cases. This is okay. This is definitely solvable because of no absolute value. Okay? So to solve this, we have to then subtract both sides of both equations by 10. I'm definitely going to run out of room. So we have 5x equals 25 minus 10 is 15, or 5x equals negative 25 minus 10 more is negative 35. So let's do a little bit of mental math here to save on space. 5 times what is 15? That's 3. And 5 times what is negative 35? That is negative 7. Okay. So really, looking at the work you had to do, this is what you're hoping to see. You want to have absolute value equals a negative. That way you can say, I'm done, no solution. Otherwise, you get the absolute value by itself. Okay, split it 2 separate equations, and then work it out from there. This is just a lot of steps. Okay, it's nothing fancy, nothing you haven't done this week. Just a lot of work. Okay. If you have questions, let me know. Where's my stop button?